Hey, it's Jason Rogers here, and in this one, I want to dive into a deal that somebody asked me to analyze for them. This is a real estate deal, a mobile home park deal, or as they call it over on the other side of the pond, a caravan deal. A mobile home park, I'm going to use that terminology because it's what I'm more familiar with. This is essentially a real estate like asset class wherein you own the land and then you rent out sections of land to individuals who own trailers or mobile homes that they park on that land, and you provide them with the land and the utilities hookups. And we're going to analyze this deal that an individual sent to me, and we're going to really get to the bottom of whether or not this is a hot deal and whether or not this is a deal this individual should pursue. So give me just a minute, and then we're going to blast all the information on the screen here, and I'm going to get out of here, and we're going to really get into the nitty gritty and the details of this deal. And one last note before we go forward, I should note that I own a mobile home park in the state of Nebraska. It's a 32 lot mobile home park that also has 6 storage bays for a total of 38 rentable units on 11 acres. So I am familiar with this asset class, and I really want to give all of the information I possibly can for this individual and perhaps for you. Look, this is going to give you a sense of how to analyze financials, what to look for when it comes to real estate. So let's get right into the nitty gritty now, like I promised. Okay, so let's dive into this here. We have 2 deals, deal 1 and deal 2. This individual is trying to buy both simultaneously. That's my understanding. There was a bit of extra information in there, but a little bit of it was confidential, and candidly, some of it didn't make a ton of sense to me. One thing I'll note is understand the asset class before you buy it. There's a chance that this individual is still learning about the asset class because he combined terminology like a fourplex combined with mobile home parks, and they really don't generally vibe. So unless if there's a fourplex that's combined with the mobile home park, there might be a little bit of a misunderstanding regarding the nuance of this asset class. And so that's my big first disclaimer, is make sure you know what you're talking about and what you're buying before you actually make an offer. But notwithstanding, and by the way, this is why you want to have an industry expert on your team if you're not an industry expert yourself. But notwithstanding, we're just going to make this one real cut and dry. All right, so they're asking 2.3 million euros for this deal, and it does a net operating income of 130,000, just right off the top of the map. And we're going to get into the calculator here in a minute, but just right off the top of my head, that's not a great buy right there. You're talking it closer to 20 times earnings than 10 times earnings, right? Because I'm taking the purchase price of 2.3 million euro and dividing by 130K, so you're almost talking like 20 times earnings. Yeah, I mean 2.6, if this were 2.6 million euro and it was doing 130,000 a year, that would literally be 20 times earnings. So it's almost 20 times earnings right now. That's this deal one, not super great. And by the way, one of the things he did mention is that the quality of these deals, and I think they're the same quality for both of them, is kind of medium to low. So for medium to low mobile home park in 2020, I would be trying to pay 8 times earnings, 7 times earnings, maybe 9 times earnings. I wouldn't be trying to pay 15 plus times earnings. So deal 1 right now, I don't even have to run the numbers. Not super interesting. Deal 2 has 26 houses. Now, I don't know if that means he's trying to buy the houses and the land. Preferably, he would just be owning the land. You see in deal 1, he's saying it comes with land. Great. Preferably, you just rent out the land, right? That's the easier model because there's a lot less maintenance, a lot less headaches. I know from experience. Deal 2 says you're going to be buying the houses. And as a side note, it is typical if you're just going to be renting out land that it'll be a higher multiple because it's an easier operation. So when you have an easier operation, usually you have to pay more times earnings for that. Deal number 2 though has 26 houses, asking price 1.1 million with a net operating income of 100,000. So that's at about 11 times earnings, maybe 11 and a half times earnings. That's a lot more reasonable, but my guess is what he's saying here is, hey, we own these 26 houses, and those 26 houses are producing 100K in net operating income. So is this a great deal, deal number 2? No, it's not bad, but it's not great. For if you're going to own the homes, the park-owned homes, I'd be looking at 7 or 8 or 9 times earnings at the most, not over 10. And if I was just buying the land, I'd be looking for 10 to 12 to 13 times earnings, not over 15. This one's over 15 times earnings. I haven't even punched it in the calculator. Just mental math shows that. So first of all, what's my take on this deal? That it's not great. Is it terrible? No. Should you absolutely run away? No. If the sellers are really motivated, might they come lower on the price? Yeah. Or might they, offer you really favorable financing? Perhaps. And that's really where we get to the part two. What this individual said to me is his thoughts on the deal specifics is that he's looking to get 60% financed by the bank and 40% financed through the current owners. That means he's not putting any money in. Let me just say off the top of the head that this is a difficult deal structure to get done, especially if you're not a proven operator, which my gut says that this individual isn't. I could be wrong, but by the way that he described some of the other details of the deal that I didn't show here, I don't really get a sense that he knows too much about this asset class. Maybe I'm wrong. He's looking to get 100% debt. Is it possible? Yeah, anything's possible. Is it likely? No, he's probably going to have to make an ask like this 50 times to get 1 or 2 or 3 yeses. He's expecting a loan at the bank for 3.5%, 3 to 3.5% on a 5-year term. In the United States, good luck. So what I'm seeing is this is very, very unlikely. And the reason I'm saying it's very, very unlikely is if a bank knows that you're not a proven operator, and if a bank knows that you're not putting any money in the deal, the odds of them loaning at 3 or 3.5%, very, 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 very low. He needs help with this. Well, my help is honestly, man, if you're able to procure that, you're doing God's work. I mean, that would be insane. I don't feel like I would be able to procure that as a proven operator. I'll put it that way. Next, he says he's looking to negotiate with owners a 4% note based on a 7-year loan with the first 2 years, no interest, only principal, and in the 7th year, a balloon payment. I don't know why he feels so strongly about that, except for maybe the owners suggested this is what we'll do. If they did, then okay. You need help with that. Yeah, I could teach you. If I slide over here, I have, fairly complicated calculators that I have put together that I use on our deals. But ultimately I built it myself. And if you have a very basic understanding of finance, and if you go through some of my videos about finance, and I've made a bunch of them here on the channel, then you can learn to build these calculators yourself. Heck, many of you in the comments have given me, criticism of, Jason, you could build those calculators more easily if you knew these fancy shortcuts. I'm not a savvy guy with those calculators. But what you really need to do is take these numbers and pump them into a calculator like this. I mean, just, you see this is a fairly more complicated revenue and gross profit and EBITDA calculator, and then there's debt assumptions and equity assumptions. You don't have to have something super complicated. You've seen some of my other case studies where I make very simple calculators on the fly. I've showed you guys how to do that in other videos here on the YouTube channel, which if you haven't subscribed to the channel, do so I can show you that kind of stuff. But ultimately what you would need to do next is put this into the calculator and even see if your debt service coverage ratio calculates, which is what this calculator does for me if I input all the numbers here and then it works downward. We can do that in a minute if you'd like. In fact, I'll just assume that you just said yes there, and we'll do that. We'll run a quick model. But the first thing would be to see if this even calculates. Does this even pump out enough cash for you to cover your debt service? And he says he needs help with the debt service coverage ratio. I've showed you guys how to do that. You basically just take the EBITDA and divide it by the debt service. That's it. That's how, you can just Google debt service coverage ratio. That is the calculator, or rather that's the calculation. And I'll show you how to make that calculator right here. So let's do this. I'm just going to actually get rid of this whole calculator. I just wanted to show you guys that as you go forward, eventually you'll want to build yourself a more complicated model like this because it's useful. Whoops. Okay, so let's combine, or do you know what we'll do? We'll do deal one. Deal 2, and then we'll do combined. And you'll see what I'm going to do. And I'm going to take this, and I'm just going to put NOI and debt service and DSCR, and then free cash flow. And that's all I'm going to do here. Okay. Deal 1 does an NOI of 130,000. Okay. Deal 1 is asking 2.3. Is that the right amount of zeros? Yes. Debt service, he doesn't really say on individual deals. So, what I would have to do is, say, first position, second position, the debt service on the first, and then the debt service on the second. What I'm going to do, let me calculate just to assume he's able to get this. So first of all, 60% of this equals 1.38 million. 40% of this, I'm just taking the total purchase price. Oh, and do you know what I should be doing? Since, oh no, deal one is asking 2.3 million. Okay, so now we need to figure out how much it is on, what does he have? He hasn't even put amortization schedules and all that. So this guy he's not giving me enough information to really calculate it for him. So I'd have to make a ton of assumptions. But what you do, let's just say that it's on a 20-year AM. Let's just say all of this is on a 20-year AM because that's fairly typical. It's on a 20-year AM for both, for everything. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pump these numbers in to a calculator, and I'm going to come back to you momentarily, and then we're going to go forward. So give me just 1 second here. Okay, so I just put in 1.38 million on a 3% rate on a 20-year AM, and that's his monthly payment. So equals sum times 12. It's already 90. I mean, this deal's not even going to float, but just right off the top of my head, that's not a great buy right there. I can already do the math on it, but I'm just going to continue going real quick. Yeah, this one, I told you deal one was a terrible deal. I mean, it's not even going to cash flow. Give me a sec. 920K. And that's assuming a 3-year interest rate on 20-year, on a 20-year AM, which is fairly favorable terms. So what I'm doing here is I'm just, this is basically per month and this is per year, right? So this is per month payments and these are per year payments. So his total debt cost is equal sum these two. Yeah, I mean, his NOI or his EBITDA divided by debt service. I need to change that. Yeah, he's not even covering debt service. His equal sum, his NOI minus his debt service, he's losing money. Okay, so deal one loses money. And deal one is the definition of a dud. All right, so there's number one. Now, let's see what he had next. Whoops. Deal two, he's asking 1.1 million. And let me just copy and paste all this so I don't have to do all the work again. And I'm not even going to combine them now because deal two sucks. Like, don't do deal two, you'll lose money. You have to negotiate that lower. Is that the right amount of zeros? I need one more zero. Okay, and deal two is doing 100K. Okay, so let's use the 60-40 split. We don't know what his total debt's going to be yet, so I'll leave that open. But let's go calculate 660K on a 20-year AM at 3%. We're assuming all of this is at 3%. Okay, so let's go do that real quick. 660, 20-year AM, 3.3. Okay. And I'm assuming principal plus interest. This guy had a whole bunch of these qualifiers. Honestly, I'm just going to get through the general premise to even see if this deal has a chance of surviving. Okay, so far he's all right. He's only paying yearly on his first position note, 43K. The deal does 100K in NOI. It should service itself if I just go here and now change 440. Yeah, it's going to service itself, I think. Yeah, because my total debt equals sum these two. Okay, there we go. This thing kicks off 26K in free cash flow, plus he's building equity every single month with this principal. And there you go. Now, how did I do that? Real simply put, I just entered in, the debt amount into a commercial loan calculator. This is the one I always use. I entered it right here. So the first one was, the first one was a $660,000 note, 3% interest rate because the guy said so, and I just kind of had to assume 20-year AM. I just said it was a fully amortizing deal, and then the principal plus interest payment per month was $3,660 and change, and so I just copied and pasted that there. I did the same thing for the $440,000 note. This is, the per year. This prior one is per month, right? And I guess I know this is a very unsexy spreadsheet. You saw my earlier spreadsheet that was very different looking. But nevertheless, the combined debt cost is $73,000. It does $100K in NOI. So you have 136% DSCR. This actually could get financed. Anything over 125% when it comes to commercial debt can get financed. This one's a dud. So I'm going to everything about this, it goes red. It's a terrible deal. Deal 2 is better. Now you see, you're basically doing $1 million deal, yet you're only making that much free cash flow. That's not great, obviously. This is why I personally am buying plumbing companies now and not real estate companies, because there's more money to be made in service-based businesses. You have to work really hard to create a lot of free cash flow in real estate after debt service. Though real estate, you build that equity, and hard assets are great things to allow you to get future loans, because that hard asset is something that banks really view as collateralizable. So there are pros, obviously, to buying real estate. But at the end of the day, deal 1 sucks. Deal 2 has a fighting chance, and that's how you calculate DSCR. DSCR, again, is just dividing the NOI by the debt service. NOI stands for net operating income. NOI is very similar to EBITDA, earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization, but NOI is used in real estate. EBITDA is used in traditional business. That's it. That's all. If you've liked the video, thumbs it up. I'll talk to you in the next one.
Hey, it's Jason Rogers. Thank you so much for watching the video. Be sure to subscribe, thumbs up the video, and for more, go to jasonpaulrogers.com.